The Canucks go for their 5th straight victory tonight, and we're going to give you 8 reasons why they can't stop winning games. You know we're winning today. It's Begsy, it's Bhawan, and you're listening to Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and thanks for hitting the play button on today's episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, Canucks writer and part-time credentialed media member for Daily Hive Vancouver. And before we dive into the show today, we want to thank you for making Locked On Canucks your very first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, where the best way you can help us grow is to listen every day and subscribe. Kyle, it was a big day for you yesterday. Not only did we record our first episode of Locked On Canucks of the week, but your quarterback got traded to the New York Jets. So, after having...
He's not traded yet. He's not traded yet.
Oh, he's not traded yet? Oh,
you didn't know that?
Nothing to worry about. I haven't been attention, man.
No,
I was relying on you for my Green Bay Packers news.
No. We'll talk more about that later. He's not traded yet, but it's probably gonna happen anytime soon now. But it's not a Kyle Bhawan show. It's a Canucks show, and it's a show for the people. We'll get to the comments at the end of the show because, we save the best for last. Go Canucks, go. Hey, man, I woke up this morning and, for whatever reason, I was disappointed that this whole Bedard thing is not going to happen.
Who's saying it's not going to happen, man?
No,
Come on, hold out some hope.
Hold out some hope. The Canucks aren't winning games. They're going to keep doing this, and, the more and more I think about it, it just makes all the sense in the world. Thatcher Demko, ultra competitive, right? Ultra competitive, coming back from injury. He had the naysayers. He probably wants to, make up for all that crappy play from the beginning of the season. Then you got Pettersson, who sort of needs a new deal, kind of at the end of the season. If you want to play that card, he has something to play for, and he wants to get to 100 points, and then you have Kuzmenko doing his thing and Miller playing better under Tocchet and Quinn Hughes doing his thing. The Canucks are gonna, I feel as how many more games do the Canucks have? 17?
17 to go.
17 more games left. I'm predicting that the Canucks go 12-5.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you look at their schedule, let's see. You're thinking 12 wins. Well, they play the Coyotes, they play the Ducks, they play the Sharks, they play the Blackhawks, they play the Blues. That's 5.
Mm-hmm.
They play the Flames twice right out of the playoffs, 6-7. They play the Blackhawks, 8, Coyotes 9, Ducks 10. So 10 of their last 17 games are against non-playoff teams. That's 12 would be a lot. But I would say it's probably pretty realistic right now. And I think for me, the main thing is, are they going to climb the standings any further? Because right now, I think there's a pretty good chance they finish as the 9th worst team in the NHL. But man, I will say Detroit got weaker at the deadline. I know the Canucks are, they're still quite a bit below Detroit, depending on how you look at it. But they're 9 points back right now. They played one less game. But again, this Canuck team is rolling. This Wings team is floundering a bit. So,
let's do it.
Hoping they don't catch them.
Let's just do it right now. Let's just do another draft simulator right now. We might as well because you never know. Maybe we can get there, right? Maybe we can get to a point where we get super, super lucky. So let's prove it. Right now, we have the 8th best chances, I think, at winning this thing. And I'm going to click it, okay? Let's see what we get. Because you never know, okay? Vancouver, you never know. We could have the 9th or 8th worst record, and we could still win this, right? Right? No.
Where did we finish?
We stayed we went down to number 9 because Washington jumped up all the way to number 1.
Wow. From like 10th or 11th worst?
I don't even know. They went up 10 spots, so 11th. Yeah. So you never
actually. Holy.
Okay, you never know, right? You never know.
It
could still happen. Okay, I'm liking it.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. In case anyone's curious, according to the Athletics 2020 latest prospect rankings for 2023, left winger Colby Barlow is the 9th selection in the draft. So he has risen from number 18, and his player comparable is Carter Verhaeghe. So Again,
Whoa.
not quite Connor Bedard, but I'm not gonna lie. Have I heard of this dude before? No, I have not.
It's pretty
But
close.
apparently, he's the 9th overall prospect according to the Athletic. But that could be the guy the
Are
Canucks
you
are going to
serious?
draft.
Did you just say that his comparables to another dude named Connor, like Connor Verhage or
No,
whatever?
Carter
Carter,
Verhaeghe.
for the Florida Panthers, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Anyways, not a
But
Panthers show.
that
Not a Panthers show. Not even a Connor Bedard show. It's Canucks show, man. It's Canucks show.
it could be a Connor Bedard show. In fact, I'm sure we're going to talk about him a few more times before that draft lottery happens. But a guy like Colby Barlow could very well be a guy the Canucks draft. You know why? Because they can't stop winning games. And I wanted to go through 8 reasons why they can't stop winning games on today's episode of Locked On Canucks to kick things off. Number 1 on my list is the goaltending is way better right now. So the Canucks basically had league worst goaltending for most of the season. And even when Rick Tocchet came and it was Delia and Martin for a bit there, their even strength save percentage was around like 84, 85%. Like that was bad for the 1980s. It's atrocious in today's NHL. But since Demko and Archer Seelovs have started some games, so they've each played 5 games since Tocchet's been in charge. Seelovs has a 908 save percentage, like pretty good for a 21-year-old rookie. Thatcher Demko 928, and he's 4-1 since returning to the lineup. So those guys have made a huge difference. Kyle, let me tell you something else that's made a huge difference. The penalty kill. Are they good at killing penalties? No, they're still pretty mediocre at it. But they've scored 9 shorthanded goals in 19 games since Tocchet took over. They've scored so many shorties, you probably don't even remember them all, Kyle, do you?
Well, they've all pretty much come recently. That's what it feels like. And
Yeah, the
Miller's got
Canucks have scored
60% of them.
Yeah, I believe I had it in front of me a second ago. The Canucks have scored 11 shorthanded goals this season, and 9 of them have come since Rick Tocchet's been here.
Well, that's a lot, man. And I can't believe Rick Tocchet's been here for already 19 games. I guess that's one of the other reasons too why the Canucks are winning games. Is because Tocchet is doing his thing. He's talking it, he's walking it. Because I feel as if going into the hiring, I didn't believe the coaching bump would be a thing. I really doubted it with how low this team was playing. For real, the morale was super, super low. And even when he got in here right away, we barely saw any differences. But again, I think we're definitely seeing that coaching bump. And man.
Oh man, I'm telling you, man, this Aaron Rodgers news is rattling for the week. Like you started the show talking about how we're not getting Bedard. You just sound sad. Are you okay, bro? It's gonna be okay. The Packers don't need Aaron Rodgers, man. It's all good.
Oh
It's
man.
all good.
Oh man.
I want to ask you about this quickly. One of the reasons I have for the Canucks winning so many games is that Pettersson, Hughes, and Miller like basically aren't leaving the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Like even on the weekend, Hughes takes a puck or a high stick to the face, and he played 25 minutes, and he had to leave for repairs.
Yeah.
Do you think PD, Hughes, and Miller are playing too much right now?
That's a good question. Are they playing too much? Because these are pretty much meaningless games. Why would you want to risk some wear and tear going into next season? I know Miller just turned 30 years old, which is the new 46 in the NHL. It's a good question, but that is one of the biggest reasons why they're going to be winning games too, because I don't think Tocchet is going to be changing up that game plan. And I think Jeff Patterson said this last week, and it really made me sad, bro. It made me sad because he said this, that the Canucks are not going to lose a lot of games if they're playing these bad teams and Quinn Hughes is playing half the game. If Pettersson is playing, more than 1/3 of the game, and same thing with JT Miller. It's like, yeah, obviously they're going to be winning games, man. It's something else. And I feel as if, again, the individual statistics in the long run, they don't really matter. It's all about team wins and winning cups, winning playoff rounds, and doing it together as a team. But in a meaningless year like this, where you're not getting to the playoffs, guys like Quinn Hughes and Pettersson, bro, you got to pad the stats. You got to do it. Because, we have things we want to do off the bucket list. I'm sure Quinn Hughes wants to be a point per game defenseman in the NHL, which is incredible. 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 He might do it 80 points, 82 points, 83 points. He might do it this season. And Pettersson, obviously, is just on a tear. And he's on pace to having one of the best seasons in Canucks history. And it's a lot of things. And you got Kuzmenko, again, we mentioned this off the top of the show, being on his wing, who wants to pick up the goals too. So they're playing too much. Probably if we, want them to well, go lower in the standings, maybe get back to that 5th or 6th spot. But again, it's not going to happen because they're playing too much.
Yeah, they are playing way too much, and then we just said it off the top. They play a good chunk of really bad teams down the stretch. It'd be a good time to get Pod Coles in some more minutes. He played 8 minutes the other night. Maybe get Jack Rathbone up for a game. I know that kind of feels like beating a dead horse, but it's the time to see what your younger guys can do. Like, why are you playing these guys 25 minutes a night? It doesn't make any sense. Because this kind of dovetails into point number 4. But Miller has rediscovered his game a bit under Rick Tocchet. Those glaring errors aren't there as much. He's back up over a point per game since Tocchet took over. He just looks like a more well-rounded player right now. He's actually looking good at center, which wasn't happening under Bruce Boudreau. So we kind of theorized that he might get a bit of a boost under Tocchet. Do you think it's just a new coach bump, Kyle, or do you think there's something to be said about JT, finding his game under Tocchet?
Seems like a prideful individual, JT Miller, that is, and he's heard the noise, and he's going to get paid a lot more next season. And I hope that he remains super prideful and intact with what Rick Tocchet is giving him as far as information goes and habits and whatnot, because that might be the biggest win of the season if this guy actually learned how to play center the right way towards the end of the season, so he can bring that into the new year. Because if that happens, bro, if that happens, like let's say this happens, right? Let's say Rick Tocchet actually teaches JT Miller how to play center properly. That's a huge win. That's a huge win for the Canucks, because there's still 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 more good years in JT Miller. I believe that. He's an offensive workhorse for real. And again, if he knows how to play center, that means Pettersson's at number 1. That means Miller's at number 2. And that means a lot of teams don't have a 1-2 punch like that down the middle. And that's what the Canucks wanted to be their strength going into the season. It didn't really work out like that, even when they had Horvat and Pettersson doing the things, playing elite at the center position. But again, going into next season where they've already committed. They've committed that it's playoffs or bust. That's a huge, huge win. So, yeah, Tocchet, keep teaching Miller how to play center.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's been a few guys who have had a bit of the Tocchet bump, and one of my reasons for the Canucks winning games is that there's been a bottom 6 boost as well. I know I mentioned Pod Coles only played 8 minutes the other night, but he's looked really good under Rick Tocchet. Like, he's looking like that NHL player that we saw towards the end of last season, even if the points aren't there right now. Amon and Joshua, we talked about them last week. If you want to check out that episode, if you want to hear a little more Amon Joshua talk, it was the episode where we talked about Fantilli and Michkov off the top. Go check it out, that episode of Locked On Canucks. But they've looked really good under Tocchet, man. Even on Saturday, I know I was having a few beers, wasn't paying super close attention to the game, but Oman was a guy that stood out, and this is before I even knew he scored in the game. So I mean, he was just making the little plays, and Joshua in particular, he's got 3 goals, 8 points in 19 games. Connor Garland's been playing on that line. He's got 13 points in 19 games. I know he's not a typical bottom 6 guy, but he's basically playing on a de facto third line right now, let's call it. So, there's some bottom 6 boosts going on right now for quite a few guys. And as a whole, and this is point number 6, the Canucks are allowing fewer chances under Tocchet. Under Boudreau, their expected goals against was 7th worst in the NHL. This is including coaching changes. With Tocchet, they're 10th best in terms of expected goals against. So they're allowing less chances, and the goaltending's been way better. Has been a big difference, at least over the last 10 games.
And I heard a combination of those two things via Blake Price, I think of Sick Harrison Price. And he said that even though Demko's save percentage is through the roof over his last handful of starts, because of the fact that there hasn't been a lot of shots against, his overall save percentage hasn't moved that much because it was so horrid in the beginning of the season. But I mean, that's surprising, man. Again, is that the coaching bump, or is that fundamentals? Is that the practice habits? Hey, we better hope it's fundamentals. Because again, it's fundamentals over Connor Bedard. That's what happened here. That is what happened when he made the move to put Boudreau in front of the world as this scapegoat, for real, as this, it was just a weird time. If they kept Boudreau, there's probably a chance that we're on that path to Bedard. But again, Connor Bedard and fundamentals way up there. Bedard number 2, fundamentals number 1.
There you go, bud. I got 2 more points, and then we'll get to the second segment of the show on today on Locked On Canucks. My 7th point is a bit mean, but it's Oliver Ekman-Larsson isn't playing big minutes. I
Yeah.
mean, in fact, he's injured right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say he was averaging 19 minutes a game, which is below his season average under Tocchet. Again, this is plus minus, but he was -6 in 9 games. I mean, Tyler Myers and Ekman-Larsson, everyone knows they've been atrocious this season. I think Myers has actually been pretty bad so far under Tocchet as well. Like, just having one of those guys out of the lineup, even if it's for like Guillaume Brisebois, has made a difference. I mean, this is one of the biggest conundrums the Canucks have to solve is what do you do with Ekman-Larsson and Myers? And we will probably get to that later on in the offseason here on Locked On Canucks. My last point, and this is deja vu, Kyle, there's no pressure. There's no pressure right now. What did we see last year? The Canucks won games when there was no pressure. What happens when the pressure's on, Kyle, huh? What's going to happen to this team?
Dude, that's a great point. Why is this team succeeding again when there's no pressure on? That's something else, man. In the beginning of next season, they got to do something, bro. They got to do something, man. They got to do something to learn how to handle pressure, man. For real. They got to all go to Port Coquitlam. I know there's this like fireman training course there where you can kind of go through a simulation and walk through a quote unquote burning building and try saving people. They got to go into like environments like that and just learn how to handle pressure because you're bang on, bro. You're bang on. For real. You're bang on.
Thanks,
you can
buddy.
date, to this core, you can date it back to even the end of the 2020 season where it got cut off short. In the beginning of that season, when nobody thought they were going to do anything, they were playing well. And as soon as they had, as soon as they were in the mix, fighting for a playoff spot, they were collapsing. And if it wasn't for COVID and the season stopping, I'm pretty sure the team wasn't going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think most fans feel the same way. And, at the beginning of 2020, 21, there was pressure. People are saying maybe this Canucks team can win the North Division. They just came off of almost going to the conference finals and they were terrible. So, again, I think point number 1 in terms of the goaltending being really good and point number 8 in terms of there being no pressure are the two biggest reasons the Canucks are winning games right now and can't stop winning games for that matter. Coming up in the second part of today's episode of Locked On Canucks, we want to talk about some Elias Pettersson comparables. So shout out to Ella96 on Twitter. But before we talk about Elias Pettersson, we need to tell you that the midway point of the NBA season is here. And now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win.
Whoa.
Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores to threes drained. Well, Kyle, I know what FanDuel does have on the website. I'm curious if they have any wagers on where John Morant's going to land up. I did read this morning that he has been waived by the Memphis Grizzlies, which is just a crazy turn of
No,
events there.
he isn't. Are you serious?
Yeah, I read this morning that he got waived. I could be wrong. This is just Twitter news. I just thought right before we hopped on.
I guess
You
there's
look it up. You look it up while I finish this ad read. You look it up
no
while I finish this
way,
ad read.
dude. I guess
That's your Vancouver Grizzlies waiving John Morant.
there you go. There's no way. No, he's undergoing counseling, bro. He's not
Go
going
look
to
it
get
up.
waived.
Go look it up.
No, he's not waived. Okay, incorrect information, fake news from Trevor Beggs, trying to cause up a stir. I like the connection though. The Memphis Grizzlies, the Vancouver Grizzlies. The connection was nice, but you got fooled, man. You got fooled.
Oh, it's the NBA Central. Oh yeah, I see.
Okay, man, we're not
Oh,
big NBA guys here. Sometimes that can happen to us. That was funny though. That was funny. There's no way an organization would drop John Morant just because he's waving a gun around.
interesting.
Okay?
This is getting some play on Twitter now. Now I'm really going down the rabbit hole, eh?
It's okay.
Oh,
That
like
was funny.
multiple people ended up tweeting this out. That's hilarious.
That was
Interesting.
something else.
Anyways, not novice NBA fan here. I don't know much about the NBA, but I do know that FanDuel lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same game parlay bets with the NBA.
Okay, wow.
So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
I'm gonna place my first bet of the year tomorrow. I'm gonna make a fat parlay, pay off all my debt, and buy a car with my winnings and buy groceries.
Damn,
For
a
real.
car and groceries.
I
You're really
know.
asking for a lot, buddy.
I know, man. Groceries are something else right now. For real. But that's why you got to use FanDuel so you can buy groceries. For real.
Yeah, 100%. So we wanted to talk about in segment 2 some Elias Pettersson comparables, and that was, yesterday we when we tweeted out the episode, we mentioned that we touched on Pettersson in segment 3, but maybe it wasn't enough Pettersson talk for some people. So, I have one comparable in mind. It's one that everyone's heard before, but before I get to that, I just wanted to mention the top 5 comparables for Elias Pettersson based on Hockey Reference's similarity scores. Now, this is, numbers based. Obviously, it's based on position. It's based on kind of the career arc through the first few seasons of his career. And I believe they actually stopped doing this prior to this season. So some of these comparables, you're gonna go, "What the heck is going on?" And some of them you're gonna go, "Oh, dang, that's pretty complimentary." So, in terms of the top 5, and I'm actually gonna skip over Johnny Gagnon because I've never heard of this player in my life. Johnny Gagnon played in the 1930s. So we're gonna skip over
Whoa,
him. No,
dude.
sorry, Johnny Gagnon.
Sorry.
So that way it's recognizable names to the listeners. Okay, I'm a hockey nut. If I don't know this guy, I doubt anyone else is gonna know him. So
Yes,
Johnny
sir.
Gagnon, thanks for your contribution to the NHL, but I'm leaving you off this Pettersson comparable list.
Okay.
So number 5 on Pettersson's top comparables, Simon Gagne. Number 4, Joe Sakic.
Okay.
Number 3, Jordan Eberle. Number 2, Jaromir Jagr. And number 1, Paul Stastny.
Damn.
So a bit of a mismatch there. And again, I think it's because it's not taking this season into account. I think Hockey Reference stopped doing this after the 21-22 season.
Yeah.
And B, it's kind of like looking at your best or worst career arcs as well. And Pettersson had some slow moments, right? So you can see why, Jordan Eberle had some lulls, Paul Stastny had some lulls, Simon Gagne had some lulls. But 2 of those guys, Jaromir Jagr and Joe Sakic, those are like multi-Stanley Cup winners, 2 of the best players like of a generation. So
Yeah. Joe Sakic.
interesting list right there. And Kyle, maybe I'll flip it to you and ask you, who is maybe your top comparable for Elias Pettersson off the top of your head, or maybe a couple if you have them.
Okay, playing style. I think you mentioned this many times before, and I think the world has, especially to those people who watch hockey from the West Coast or hockey that's happening on the West Coast, even though you're on the East. It's Pavel Datsyuk. That makes a lot of sense. I think when Pettersson broke into the league, and I kind of saw what he was doing in the playoffs as well, he did kind of remind me of Nikita Kucherov sometimes too, because sometimes Kucherov plays a little edgy as well, and Pettersson has that POS in him. Okay, for real, he does. And another name I would use, not based on playing style, but based on arc, maybe Nathan McKinnon.
That's a really good one.
I feel as if he has that Captain Serious type energy as well in him. So, I mean, I hope we get that Yager, Sakic, McKinnon, Datsuk-esque type of career arc, because that means the city's gonna get cups, man. For real. How about you, man? How about you? How about you? You watching a
Yeah,
million hockey games a year, for real? What's I remember what 4 or 5 episodes ago, I pretty much said I don't think there's a player in the league that plays the game like Pettersson, for real, because of how hard he competes
yeah.
on every shift, what he can do with the puck. So it's hard for me to say who's a real comparison, but again, I want to know who you think
Yeah,
is
this
one.
might sound a bit strange, but I'm actually going to go with Anze Kopitar. And I
Nice.
kind of see Pettersson as a more skilled, less defensively aware Anze Kopitar. Because it's hard to compare them in some ways because Kopitar is a much bigger player. He's like 6'3", 230. Pettersson is not that. But I just think Pettersson doesn't get the credit for how good of a defensive player he is.
Mhm.
And in terms of his positioning in his own end, he doesn't have the strength like Kopitar does to really shove guys out of the way. But in terms of positioning, like he's such a good, reliable two-way player. And in that way, just the ability to play good defensively first and then create offense off the rush and in the offensive zone. That way, he does kind of remind me of Anze Kopitar. So I will say I do think Pettersson probably finishes with the better career. I hope he finishes with at least 2 cups, but I think we would even take 1 in this market. But I don't know, Matt. How do you feel about Anze Kopitar as
No,
comparable?
I like that. I like that, man. I like that, and I love how Anze Kopitar is still elite down the road, for real, for real. It's been a long time since he's been in the league, and former Stanley Cup champ, multiple Stanley Cup champion, and yeah, super impressed with what he's been able to do for this long in his career.
100%. Well, we love some good Pettersson comparables here on Locked On. And you know what else we love here on Locked On? Athletic Greens. I got to tell you, Kyle, like I was feeling like I had the dad bod, and I'm starting to feel a little lighter, a little more fit,
Okay.
a little more
Okay.
rejuvenated
Bringing
since I
sexy
started
back.
taking. Yeah, bringing sexy back because of Athletic Greens.
Screw,
Woohoo!
JT. It's all about TB for real. Trevor Beggs.
Hey, this JT Miller. Are you talking about JT Miller? It's his birthday today, by
No,
the
no,
way. Happy
Justin Timberlake. I'm bringing sexy
Oh, of
back.
course. Yeah, I
Hey,
did text you back. Okay, my bad, my bad. By
come
the way,
on,
happy
man.
birthday, JT Miller.
Yeah,
Happy 30th birthday, buddy. Um, since I came back from vacation, I've been shaking out the dad bod, and part of me doing that has been by taking Athletic Greens.
beautiful.
So, what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All the things. Now, Kyle, I tell you all the time, but I woke up at 4 a.m. today just to write about Andrei Kuzmenko. And, I woke up, the head's feeling maybe a little foggy, maybe I didn't sleep enough. But as soon as I took that scoop of Athletic Greens, I started feeling a lot better.
Beautiful.
As a dad, I do need my sleep. I didn't go to bed on time last night, okay? Didn't get enough sleep. But I will say Athletic Greens does support better sleep quality, recovery, mental clarity, and alertness. When you use AG1, you're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance product. And Athletic Greens has over 7,000 five-star reviews. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it
Whoa.
easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Wow, dude. Insurance again. Who needs health insurance when you have Athletic Greens? And who needs a day job when you got Locked On Canucks? Trevor Beggs, for the listener, is blocking all these calls for his day job just so he can continue the conversation with you guys. And this guy's a family. But he's out here doing the deed for the listeners, man. The listeners. Speaking of the listeners, let's go to some comments. We didn't have a lot of comments on the last episode, so we want more for this episode. Drop some player comparisons in the comment section to Elias Pettersson. Okay, who did we miss? Who do you think looks a lot like Elias Pettersson? Let's give a shout out to Ella, who called us out for giving us that clickbait, giving the people the clickbait yesterday when we brought that up in the tweet. Right, we talked about Pettersson for maybe 30 seconds, but we put him in the tweet. Speaking of another comment, I had this one right here. We talked about Aidan McDonough yesterday, and Matt does not see him making the team. And it's pretty obvious why. It's because there's 47 wingers with one-way deals on the team already.
I will say, I'll tell you right now, Aidan McDonough is going to play games for the Vancouver Canucks this season. If they wanted him to go play in the AHL, they would have structured his deal differently. The way it happens coming out of college is you basically sign an AHL tryout contract and then just go play in the AHL. So the fact that he signed the 2-year entry-level deal with the Canucks tells you that he is going to play games for the Vancouver Canucks. Now, I will say a couple points. If this was a good team, first and foremost, Aidan McDonough is probably not playing NHL games. But even then, I'm curious who's going to come out of the lineup in his place. Right now, I'd say like some of the candidates would be Vitaly Kravtsov. Maybe he hasn't looked great in the last few games. I don't really think you're taking Joshua Garland out on that line. I don't think Podkolzin's coming out. Maybe Sheldon Dries, but then who goes to center? So it's not really a straightforward situation. I'm not sure exactly who's going to come out in his place. Maybe Brock Besser. I want to talk about his struggles, but
Ooh,
yeah, I don't know. Aidan McDonough, I tell you, is going to play games at some point. I'm just not sure exactly what that looks like and who's coming out of the lineup.
we'll see. We'll see. I think it's a good point, and I think you made a good point too. I mean, they pretty much signed this guy to make sure he got some games played, and I'm pretty sure they promised him the same thing. So he's going to play. Who's going to go out? I think it's Kravtsov.
Yeah, probably Kravtsov.
Yeah. I think that kind of fits the mold. That being said, I did hear that Rick Tocchet had a nice thing to say about him and Podkolzin.
He compared him to like a 19. I had to look up the cartoon he compared him to. What do you call him? I think he's called him like Mutt and Jerry or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
And me and Kyle talk about getting older, but we're only 30. Okay.
Hey, speaking of being 30, man, let's end it on that note. Happy birthday, JT Miller. You said it a couple minutes ago. He turned 30. We're about to turn 32, and well, I mean, we're about to turn 30 as well. Beautiful. We should go out for a drink with JT, man. For real, because this is the show that's pumping his tires. Not Trevor. I'm pumping his tires, okay? Leave JT alone. Leave JT alone. Leave JT alone. We have 2 number 1 centers on this team, and it's because JT Miller is one of those number 1 centers. Thank you, Rick Tocchet, for teaching JT Miller how to play center. That is why we're gonna finish either 8th or 9th next season.
Yeah, thank you, JT Miller. And we want to thank you for making Locked On Canucks your first listen today. Now make your second listen game to game. Locked On NHL. Every moment, every performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across Locked On NHL with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NHL. Available on Audacity, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. Been nice chatting with you, Kyle. Canucks do play the Dallas Stars tonight. Another game, man. Going for 5 straight wins.
We didn't talk about the game, bro. That's what, bro. Are you serious? I saw something on the.
What, you want to spend 10 minutes previewing a meaningless game?
No. Okay, Halford and Bruff tweeted out how they're giving away free tickets today. Nobody was texting for the tickets. So this is Sportsnet 650 saying, "Hey, you want to go to the game tonight? Blah blah blah. Let's text in. Be the 15th texter in, and you can win tickets." And nobody was texting in to win those tickets because.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Even when I covered the Ducks game last Wednesday, it was a quiet arena, man. I'm telling you, they were like. It was kind of sad the way they were trying to like artificially pump noise into the building a little bit, you know?
You're dark. Dude, you keep saying these things. They're not going to let you back in the building. Let's get out of here, man. My name's Kyle Bhawan. That's Trevor Beggs. Locked On Canucks every day. Do your thing. Shout out to our sponsors. And yeah, happy birthday, JT Miller. Peace.
Shout out to you.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.